If we talk about, you've been with Orica AIS for past 2 years, is it? Yeah, and now you're going to specialised. What's your thoughts on that move and what's the reason for it?
Yeah, basically it came to a point, so I've been with Orica for the last 2 years since it's starting, and then I got to where I was like, do I want to stay with them or do I want to perhaps change for a different teammate for a couple of years or see how it goes? And if I was going to do it, now is the time that you have to do it, because my next major goal is the Rio Olympic Games and you don't want to be changing teams a year out from there. So I looked at a few options and the opportunity came up to join Specialised, and they're a fantastic program, what they put together, and I do have ambitions with the team time trial, which I haven't had the opportunity yet with Orica, and they're obviously the specialists with Specialised, and they're keen to get me into the lineup, and it's more a change than anything. Like, Orica gave me amazing opportunities, they're a fantastic team, but for me it's just about change and trying something different, getting a little bit away from the Australian program and sort of stepping up as a rider as well and being a leader. Like, I want to get to the same level as obviously Emma, and we have her in Orica, and as I've said in a few interviews, like, to be the best, you have to compete against the best. You're not going to get there if you're still competing with them, and the only way to do that is to get away. So I think it's just about opportunities and taking that chance to be able to, step up and take more leadership roles instead of continuing being a domestic.
What do you know about the team?
It seems like a very good team. Like, they focus a lot on the little things, like the technical aspects, particularly, women's specific bikes, and it's a well-run team. Christie's put together, it's obviously the format HTC. It got, they took the girls that wanted to stay together, they relaunched it, they found sponsors, and I think they've done a fantastic job with it. And like, it just seems a really good group of girls. Similar to Orica, they're all willing to sacrifice themselves, work together as a team, and ultimately that's what you get with results. And I like to be in teams where everybody plays their part and has their job, and that's what motivates me to want to ride or win race myself or help teammates win races.
Do you know your programme, both in terms of training camps and then beyond that, the races themselves?
So far I only have the training camp. It should be in the second half of January, and I think in California. And from there, I guess we'll sit down and work out my program over the next month or so. I'll certainly start with Pro the Bakerits in Australia and then the national championships. So that'll be my first target. I've been trying to get a national title for a number of years. So see if I can try and snatch one. But again, I'm on the other side of the fence now, and we'll have to take on the Orica girls. So. But certainly it is, like, I spoke with Ronnie, the director, a few weeks ago, just, to touch base, and like, they do really want me to focus on the one-day races to start with. Then obviously we have Evie Stevens there for the tours as like the main rider, so it'd be good to help her, and that will help my strength and my potential, as a tour rider. And then, the team time trials as well. So certainly, like, one of the big goals will be Flanders, and then we go from there, and the Commonwealth Games for a national team project as well. That's certainly a goal for me personally.
Is Flesh also a goal?
Yeah, definitely. Like, Flesh, I like a lot. It's that climb where we have Evie as well. She's won there before, and it's funny because I can be really strong in those sorts of climbs, and other times can just be that little bit, like, I need to increase my power that little bit more. And so certainly I love to win Flesh as well, but between the two, I think Flanders is probably a little bit more to my strength than Flesh. Certainly maybe in a year or two when I get that little bit stronger and can really have that punch that you need for the last bit of the Mer. But for the moment, while we have somebody so strong like Evie, I think that's sort of her race. And then, like, I love the cobbles as well, so yeah, there's plenty of races there to target.
It seems that women's cycling is picking up. There's a feeling of momentum growing. How do you feel about that? You think it is developing, going in the right way?
I think it certainly is. It's taking time, but there's a lot more things getting spoken about it. There's a lot more push to try and increase it. You see it not only, obviously, we got Brian Cookson, who's just come in, and then he took on board Tracy Gorge, which I think is fantastic for us because she's been there. She's been a professional athlete herself, and then we're trying to increase ways. There's plenty of ways you can say we need to do this, this and this, but it's about going back a step and saying, okay, how are we going to do that? And I think the more we have it with teams, especially like Specials Lululemon and Rubber Bank, Orica, Bowls Dolmans, all these teams which are stepping up, being a bit more professional in the way they act, that's going to grow the sport. And then races like Tour of Britain coming on board as well. I think it's heading in very much the right direction, and hopefully it will keep the ball rolling and we'll get it to just that little bit further that we get to make the sport advance.
The UCI is talking about having a package of televising the races and then giving it initially free of charge to broadcasters. Do you think that's going to be important to increase the TV coverage of the sport?
Absolutely. I keep saying, everybody says, oh, there needs to be minimum wage, there needs to be this, needs to be that, but ultimately it comes down to exposure. We need exposure. So if we can get television coverage, that's a start. Like, the best thing is, the times we have had television coverage, take the World Championships the last 2 years and Olympic Games, they've all been amazing spectacles, and everybody who's told me that they've watched them have all said it's been exciting racing. So obviously the fan base is there and people want to see it, and we're given the opportunities. So I think that's the main key. If we can get on television, that's the first stepping stone, and the more coverage we can get, the better chance the racing is going to grow and we're going to get what we need. Then we get the sponsors, then we get the money, and that's how it's going to grow. But we're not going to get the money without the coverage.
There's also talk maybe of trying to have a women's Tour de France. There's been a petition going around, and Marion Voss and various others are getting involved. Is that something you'll support? You think that's important also?
I'd certainly support it, but I think there's ways about going on it. Everybody who you speak to, no matter if they know anything about cycling or they're hardcore fans, everybody knows the Tour de France. So I'd love to be able to race up some of the famous climbs, but I wouldn't like to see us doing a full 3-week same stage as what the men, because the unique thing with women's cycling is our race is shorter, they're aggressive, it's how we race. You go straight to saying we want to go these crazy hard distances, which we haven't got the base training in us. We've never raced those sorts of distances. It's going to, I personally think, create negative racing. So it'd be great to have that, be able to link it in somehow. How you do it, I don't know, but it's such a huge event and such a worldwide event. Like, it would be fantastic to be able to race that and to race on the Champs. I've been there at the men's race at the Champs at the finish in Paris. It's an incredible experience, like just the atmosphere, and to actually be racing there in front of that would be amazing.